need to set up your voicemail. Call me back when you get this message, okay? I got the tea and it's piping. But until you call me back, I will be calling my other homegirls. Hey, world! Let's get into the tea.
I love that giggle. Hey, homegirl, or hey again, homegirl, homeboy, and homies. Welcome and welcome back to my other corner of the internet, homegirl hangout with me, your host and the big homie, Herbie Revales. So if you're watching this for the first time after the live, you won't know the ridiculousness that just happened, and that is that my first attempt at recording this video was a floptita. The video just, as I'm trying to do some moderations because it was getting really messy in the chat, the video just decided to shut off. So I said, well, girl, let me make some additional tweaks so that I can get some moderation in here, do an outfit change. I'm feeling like Beyonce when her mic cut off at the Renaissance store. You know, please do not be alarmed, remain calm. Girl, I did an outfit change and said, girl, she's back. Uh-oh, back again. Let me adjust me though. So, hi. I know that's a lot of chaos if you're like, Herbie, I just clicked this video. What do you mean? So I've been MIA for quite some time for reasons that I am going to get into with you again if you were on the first iteration of this live, or for the very first time if you're just watching this one. But I do want to start with Nicki Minaj. Nicki Minaj's Fall from Grace is like a weekly episodic series that I cannot wait to watch. And you know what? It is particularly sad because I do come from the place of someone who grew up watching Nicki Minaj. And so to see where she's come and to understand my affinity and so many millennial and Gen Z folks' affinity for Nicki Minaj shift as she shifts further and further to the right of Looney Town. It's getting spookiana. And so on this week's episode of Nicki Minaj versus Everybody, it appears that Nicki Minaj's most recent internet activity has made an enemy of her incredibly loyal fans, the Barbs, and a friend of the incredibly controversial Trump. And incredibly controversial was probably the most polite way that I could have put that. Yes, you heard me right. Over the weekend, Nicki Minaj released a tweet that resulted in her losing over 100,000 followers on X. And we're going to get into the specifics of the tweet and what she said. But many people believed that this was emblematic of her transition to the MAGA movement. And when people say transition to the MAGA movement or to the alt-right, I begin to question them and go, okay, well, transition from what? What did you perceive Nicki Minaj's original politic to be, right? Because it for damn sure was not a progressive politic. It for damn sure was not a progressive politic. And so I think for me, I've long taken, especially the more I become more politically inclined and politically astute, I've taken Nicki Minaj's very strategic and intentional obscurity with respect to her political positions as an indication, and some of her music, her lyrics, her actions, the way that she moves, as an indication that, you've always been a MAGA Barbie. I'm a motherfucker MAGA! Yes, I did that on the first live and I had to bring that back. Girl, she's a mother MAGA. Okay, so that is what is going to be the center of this topic. But as I was, reading the tweets and being like, all right, let me talk to the people about this because it's been a minute. I want to talk to them about this before I do the big thing that I've been keeping a secret from you all. I realized that there were other stories that I felt were germane or tied to this story about celebrities or our faves, our cultural faves, moving in a direction that is maybe not explicitly MAGA, but certainly more conservative. They are moving further and further to the right. And it's not a surprise, but it is incredibly disappointing, right? And this turn is really a fallacy. Many of these people have always performed social liberal politics, right? Like, of course, I have no problem with it, kids. Of course, I think working families should do. But it's like, I don't trust you if you're a multimillionaire with a mic speaking to the proletariat, speaking to the working class and telling us how we should live our lives. And so we see the backlash that Charlemagne the God, who has a huge microphone to Black folks, Black men, and the Black working class, condemning Democrats for the shutdown of the government when we know that Charlemagne the God knows better. He's politically astute enough to understand that it is Republicans who have shut down the government, and the reasons for why they've shut down the government, and also the reasons why he is positioning it the way that he's positioning it is very nefarious, because he benefits from people believing that Democrats are to blame, from us putting pressure on Democrats to do something that really isn't in the best interest of the working class. And we'll discuss that in more detail later. And also Mariah Carey receiving backlash for, we love the Queen of Christmas. Charlamagne the God, girl, I wouldn't care if he dropped the mic today. The Queen of Christmas, this one hurt a little bit. I'm going to be honest with you, because I love Christmas. I come from a family that is very family oriented. We're very holiday oriented. We get into the spirit of all the things except for Halloween. I do. I love the spirit of Halloween, but I come from a Christian household. And so the girls will get into the spirit of, Easter, Thanksgiving, Christmas. We love those things. And so it's always all I want. Actually, it's time. It's time to begin playing All I Want for Christmas Is You. It's that time of year has come. And so to see the way that Mariah Carey has decided to present the It's Time campaign, it's become a campaign. It used to be a cute little insider between her and the Lambs. But this campaign this year, essentially mocking working class people who have said, in what's the word I'm looking for? In incalculable amounts of people have voiced their concern and their resistance strategy, which is to boycott Christmas, boycott Thanksgiving. You mean to tell me federal workers are not getting paid and the government is getting paid for the government shutdown? The shutdown that is going to result in poor people losing healthcare and food stamps, etc. And so people say that they want to. I'm getting ahead of myself. Mariah Carey is being read for her position on this. And so there is connective tissue between Nicki Minaj becoming MAGA Barbie, Charlemagne the God using his platform to direct largely Black men further and further to the right, but doing so in a way that feels like, I'm trying to do what's best for us. I ain't vote for Trump, because it is incredibly unpopular, particularly as a Black person, to be repping this shit. And he knows that. So they're doing it in a way where they are shucking and jiving. They are tap dancing for the bag that the white man is holding, for the carrot that the white man is. Girl, I'm getting like, hold on, reel it in. We're going to be talking about all of that and more. But I have to start here. Not only did we have technical difficulties in the first iteration of this live, but because of that and for other factors, I cannot stay long tonight. I know normally I'm like, girl, let's just chat. I actually cannot stay long tonight, so I'm going to try my best to be in and out. For the very same reason for why I've kind of been not producing as much content lately, and that's because I have been working on this video that actually comes at the perfect time for this video about Nicki Minaj's problematic politics. I've been working on this video the last few weeks where I've been researching, scripting, editing, interviewing multiple people for my video essay, The Miseducation of Feminism. Okay. So I was very instrumental in the curation of this thumbnail. I reached out to Scutch. If you don't know them, I'm putting y'all on game. If you are a YouTube content creator, I suggest you reach out to him. Fab, so professional. But I was very instrumental in creating this thumbnail because I felt it was very provocative and speaks to the heart of what I want this video essay to be. It's something that's been really close to my chest and really close to my heart, because I don't feel like there's enough comprehensive conversations exploring the complexities, contradictions, and complications, say that 5 times fast, of modern day feminism in the era of men's rights activism. and an aggressive kind of men's rights activism where we've been using the term manosphere for so long to describe its rise. Like something is coming, something is coming, something is inching, something is growing. And we are seeing a fully realized, fully actualized, intelligent, politically astute, dangerous regime that is decentralized, right? It's on the cultural front. So people who aren't even into politics are getting it through Red Pill podcasts. It's on the political front. So it is entered fully into each branch of government. Girl, the Supreme Court has been taken over. The executive branch has been taken over. I wanted to say something from Insecure, where it's like, we have 3 branches of government: legislative, the presidential, and the Bank of America. The Bank of America branch. The Bank of America branch has been taken over, Miss Thing. Girl, they've got it all. And so Congress is the real tea. Congress, seriously, this is not funny. I'm being serious with you. Congress and all of these dangerous and deleterious policies this is generation shifting, right? And so when I hear what people perceive as frivolous discourse around gender wars, gender roles, and how they separate that from the very white supremacist, imperialist, fascist takeover, and people don't connect the inextricable linkage, I'm disappointed. There's no time in history where a fascist regime has not brought it back to gender, where these conversations aren't at their core about anti-feminism versus a feminism ideal. And if you think that feminism can be stripped down exclusively to gender, then mama, you haven't done the knowledge. You haven't done the knowledge. And I'm super, super excited to be bringing along some of my friends and colleagues and folks who I'm deeply inspired by. Of course, FD Signifier, who is a leading voice for progressive thought and wokeness. Yeah, girl. I don't care how ugly y'all try to make the word, girl. T Noir, who is, I just saw T Noir at Khadijah and Bo's Operatica show. She's so fucking fab. Sweet girl. Conscious Lee, who will also be a part of this to discuss the masculinity crisis and our relationship to feminism and gender politics as, you know, a Black male, masculine presenting heterosexual male, and none other than the Emmy award-winning, SAG-AFTRA award-winning mother icon and living legend, Laverne Cox. Yes, it's gonna be kind. I'm sorry, it's gonna be kind. So, yeah. That is something that I wanted to let you guys know at the top of the video. That was supposed to be a really short promo, but it is what it is. So make sure you're subscribed to my main channel. It's just my name, Herbie Revelous. If you don't know how to spell it, let me put it on the screen, honey. Where is it at? Where is it at? Hello? Hello? Oh. What's my name? Oh, she's fighting back, Miss Thing. Y'all should know how to spell my name. If you don't know how to spell my name, what are you doing here? All right, so let's get to where we're going. So as I said already, we are gathered here today to discuss Nicki Minaj's politics and the quote tweet seen around the world. There have been over 50 million people who have seen this tweet. There is nearly 20% of the country. And that's important for where we're going later. And this is the tweet that folks are saying, like, okay, I've had enough. This is the tweet where folks, where 100,000 Barbs said, it's time for me to go. I'm going to have to unfollow you. And it's the one where folks are no longer speculating about her political affiliations because of, like I said, of how strategically hush-hush she's been in the past. It's like, no, mama, this is explicit. And I have video footage of Nicki Minaj being asked political questions in the past.
You have any thoughts on Donald Trump?
No, no thoughts.
Do you have any thoughts? No, no thoughts. So we go from no thoughts, don't ask me any questions. Of course, we're going to talk in more nuance about how Nicki Minaj has shown up with politically motivated or politically adjacent commentary and music. But I do think it's important to say this about this tweet on the screen. because I know who I'm talking to, I know the audience that I'm speaking to, I know we're going to have a diverse set of opinions here. But it is crucial that I talk about the specifics of this tweet because it references allegations of religious persecution and international affairs. Very serious and deeply emotional allegations that require a certain level of emotional intelligence to navigate with the sensitivity that it deserves, right? Also, geopolitics are incredibly complex. Bitch, I am still in the process of understanding all of the nuance of domestic politics. The politics from, I'm a Jersey girl, so I've got pretty much the tri-state down packed. But when you start asking what the politics going on in Montana, I've got no clue. So when we're talking about politics happening across the globe in Nigeria, that absolutely requires a kind of political intelligence, you know? And so I do want to discuss this to the extent that I can, and to the extent that you all can, with the nuance that it deserves, right? And so that's important. If any of you have any thoughts, if you're on the Patreon, I'm gonna send a link when the time comes, when it's about time for me to be out of here, because I haven't spoken to my Patreon girlies in a minute. So I'm gonna call you guys up so that we can kiki on this live stream so I can get your thoughts as well. But first, let's zoom out before we go into the specifics of this and discuss big picture. I think that's really important because this is bizarre, even for Nicki Minaj. Mm. Mm. Mm-hmm. Mm. Woo. Hold on, one more. My God, on today. Mm-hmm. Okay. Say less astrology. Jersey girl, stand up. Stand up. New Jersey, stand up. Okay. What picture do I want to have up while I discuss Miss Minaj? Let's do this picture. This is bizarre even for Nicki Minaj because I'm gonna tell you why it's bizarre to me. Not because Nicki Minaj is not really unhinged and unpredictable, but it's because I feel like Nicki Minaj has been able to maintain as a businesswoman. As a businesswoman, she's been able to maintain a sense of understanding of where her audience is and falling in line with that. It's very Michael Jordan. Conservatives buy or Republicans buy Jordans too. And follow me. Even if Nicki Minaj is, her politics are very conservative or alt-right, right? And we could use these series of tweets as evidence of the aforementioned political leanings. She has always been aware, to my mind, that she is a hip-hop artist whose fans are overwhelmingly Black, female, and queer. Those demographics, and you don't have to be a politico to know this, those demographics are diametrically opposed to anything MAGA. We in large part, especially the current iteration of the Republican Party, are very resentful and anti-MAGA, anti-Republican policies because of the way that they regress minorities. And so even if she is, why would she choose to align herself with this administration at this time? And again, like I said, her current role in pop culture is to be an unhinged provocateur, a shock jock, if you will. And that's unfortunate because I really desire so much more for Nicki Minaj from an artistic perspective, from a perspective of opportunity for philanthropy, considering she has such a diverse minority fan base, but that is a conversation for another day. What we have is what we have. I think it's bigger, though, than her desire to be a provocateur or a shock jock. I think there is actually something deeper going on here. Because to quote her, we know that she doesn't give a. I think I have that quote up here. Where's that quote? Here she is saying that life is so much better when you don't give up. And this was the same day or the very next day after she has been on this pro-Trump campaign. Excuse me. And this is why I say I think there's more to this, right? Because people are going to be like, girl, why are you discussing with austerity this topic about Nicki Minaj's politics? It's not that serious. In fact, it's quite frivolous and inconsequential to anything we got going on. And to that, I say, you're wrong. You're wrong for two main reasons that we could have a really extensive conversation about that far exceeds Nicki Minaj and talks more about the intersection between pop culture and politics. But if we want to talk specifically about this administration, reason one, this administration has a PR problem, mama. Nobody likes them. On the political front and on the cultural front, niggas is not feeling them, right? And so Nicki Minaj and all of the people like her, Mariah Carey, who is offering a kind of right-leaning presentation. 50 Cent, who was campaigning for Zoran Mamdani. He was not campaigning for Zoran Mamdani. Who, shout out to Zoran Mamdani. He was campaigning for Cuomo, the Trump-endorsed loser. loser candidate for the New York City mayoral race. And he was doing that because it aligns better for his politics, for his pockets. Same thing with Lala Anthony. Same thing with Charlamagne the God. All of you niggas is on my hit list. Let me be clear. All of you ultra wealthy, multi-millionaire black people who are not aligning with what the black working class is saying is best for us, you're all on my shit list. Sue me. I'm not rooting for everybody that's black. I'm rooting for everybody that's black with a pro-black, pro-working class politic. Pro-queer. Bitch, I got time today. Pro-woman. If your politic is not inclusive of the people who need government assistance to survive, if it's not inclusive of the people who don't even have the wherewithal or the resources to step foot into the food stamps line because they don't have a home, they don't got as my mom would say, you don't got a pot, they don't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. If your thoughts, your political thoughts, when you open your motherfucking dick suckers, does not include those motherfuckers, I don't want to hear a fuck ass thing about what you gotta say. Okay, so that would be Nicki Minaj, Charlamagne the God. That would be Mariah Carey. Bitch, I'm dragging all the girls. Well, yes. Wait, Mariah with Netanyahu? Wait a minute. Wait, hold on. Drop the T. So freedom! For real though. But anyway, I bring this up. Let's talk specifically because there's the cultural piece and the political piece. So let's start with the politics. Nobody likes them, right? And we are seeing the direct results of the various and innumerable No Kings protests manifesting and actualizing in real consequences for the right and Republicans in this most recent election. And I got good news for you. If you've been feeling down and you've been feeling blue, you're about to feel bluer, but in a really, really good way. So I want to shout out. I want to shout out a couple people because there was a blue wave, right? Mamdani, and excuse me if I don't always say that right. My tongue is big and wet and moist. And as a result of that, it can be difficult for me to, it can be difficult. See, that wasn't planned. So Mamdani was just elected the first, and I have it written in front of me. I don't want to mess it up. Mamdani was just elected the first Muslim and millennial mayor of New York City, beating Trump-endorsed Cuomo, 50 Cent. And if you wonder why I said 50 Cent, I told you guys that he endorsed Cuomo. Democrats in Virginia walked Republicans like a dog, Miss Honey. Girl, they walked Republicans like a dog in the House of Delegates and the gubernatorial elections, electing a Democratic mayor and flipping, I believe, 13 seats in the House of Delegates. It's like, girl, it's looking cute for the midterms. I have some hope where before there was just caution. right? And of course, in my great state of New Jersey, Mikey Sherrill, the woman and Democratic nominee, won over Trump lackey Jack. And this is also no shade. Is it Chitterelli? I'm going to say Chitterelli. Yeah, that's what you get from me, Jack. Which is actually a really historic victory, not just because she's female, but because it is the first time in 65 years or 75 years. Hold on, I'm doing a man. No, 65 years. It's the first time in 65 years that New Jersey has ever elected a governor of the same party 3 terms in a row. And I think about where we were in 1960, and I think about where we are right now. Civilly, politically in 2025. And as my mother would say again, there is nothing new under the sun. You know, the more things change, the more they stay the same. But I will say that I felt good because as the girls are trying to get rid of DEI, it's looking like DEI is fighting back and winning. Hello. It feels good. Da, 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 da. So I feel good about that. Oh, and I did want to say this before we move on to why Trump sucks and why Nicki Minaj and all these girlies also suck. In terms of their politics, they're great at their respective art forms, right? I'm talking about Mariah Carey and Nicki Minaj in that regard. But Mikey, my governor, Mikey Sherrill, her first name is actually Rebecca. And I found that so fascinating. And the reason why I found that fascinating is because as I'm voting in the booth, I'm clicking her name, and I almost thought her name was Mike. And in that moment, I said, I just had an epiphany. I'm about to go to Tiffany's. You did this intentionally. Now, of course, Rebecca has said on numerous occasions that her father gave her the nickname Mikey when she was a very young child, and it's kind of stuck with her. But how many political officials do you know go by their middle name? How many public facing people go by their nickname that their family gave them as a kid? Not many, right? Like I present myself not as my nickname. I have a nickname in the house, but I present myself as Herbie Revalis, right? And so in that moment, it was very indicative of, or my mind went to how often many female writers at a particular time in history, and probably still to this day, would, instead of going by their first name and last name, they would go by first initial last name to obscure their gender identity in an effort to be taken seriously, or perhaps to even be perceived as maybe not the gender that they were, in an effort to be taken seriously by the consumer, right? So not just by the publisher or people, the editor, what have you, but also by the consumer. And so I think that Mikey, whose name is Rebecca Michelle Sherrill, stay focused, choosing to go by Mikey in her political career, which is a male-dominated field. She was an attorney, she was in the Navy, and now she's the governor. All male-dominated fields. It's very intentional for her to go by this, and it sucks that women have to obscure parts, or feel like they have to obscure parts of their identity in order to be taken seriously. That is why I'm really excited that Virginia voted for, I believe her name is Abigail, and she didn't have to change her name to Adam to be taken seriously. So best of luck to all of these people, and we love to fucking see it, in the words of Tyler. Let's go. Oh, this is where I wanted to drag him for the polls. Okay, so basically, Trump sucks, and the people know it. We could have seen this blue wave coming because every major poll that indicates pretty much every facet of major politics and what you want a president to do, the people are saying he's not doing well. So whether it's the CNN polls, the ABC polls, the Washington Post polls, the NBC polls, all of them are saying Trump sucks. And I can't really see what I have here because the screen is very... Oh, Trump's handling of crime, according to the Washington Post poll, 55% disapprove. I just want to read them all. His handling of the economy, 62% disapprove. His job as a president, just like everything that falls under the category of what people imagine a president is supposed to do, 48% of the country disapproves, according to an NBC poll. The first one was ABC. The one before that was Washington poll. This one is NBC. And I thought I had another one. No, don't I have another one? I had a CNN poll. There was a CNN poll, and you can look it up yourself. There was a CNN poll that compared the way people felt about him directly after January 6th. The insurrection, where people were just not feeling him, where even Republican members of his cabinet were like, you know what, I'm going to resign. Mama, you have 30 minutes left. So the country was not feeling him. And it compared how they felt about him then and how they feel about him now. And his disapproval rating is higher now than it was after January 6th. Mama, the people don't like you, but Nicki Minaj does. The Barbs do. The Barbs do. Girl, I'm just saying. Don't hate me. I must be a real. I'm a motherfucking monster. I'm a motherfucking MAGA. Seriously. Now let's talk about the cultural piece, because this is where Nicki Minaj comes in, right? And I want to make sure. Oh, this is so cute. Hi, Donnie. It says, hey, homegirl, hang out with Herbie, which is just me. Hey, Herbie, it's Donovan. We met at the Deviant party last weekend. Just got off of work. So sorry I'm late. Don't be sorry. Don't be sorry. But also, come here. No, just come here. Why the fuck would you tell these people where I was at? Why would I read it, right? No, it was lovely meeting you. You were the sweetest. And so, yeah, let's move on. Let's move on. Girl, it was Halloween on occasion. Well, yes, it's church. Well, yes. Well, yes. All right, for real. Let me be serious. On the cultural front, MAGA is deeply uncool right now, right? And so, like, they're just really unpopular. It is still not socially acceptable to say, like, oh, I'm MAGA. Bitch, you're not cool. Like, y'all try to make conservatism hit. It doesn't. The fashions don't hit. The politics don't hit. The ethics don't hit. Your personalities suck. Your entertainment sucks. Like, y'all said that y'all going to be boycotting the Super Bowl to do a MAGA Super Bowl. All right. We'll see how that turns out for you. You just don't have the things. It's not fun over there. It doesn't look fun over there, right? People are not enticed to join it as a cultural movement, which isn't the greatest thing, because we really want people who are actually connected to policies and, are aware of what it is that they're getting themselves into. But it's like, honestly, conservative policies in general are not as popular and have not been as popular as democratic policies in modern history for quite some time, right? But this particular brand of Republican, the girls are like, mama, this is not Republican, this is fascism, and we see you for what you are. You suck. You don't like women, you don't like gays, you don't like black people. And even if they don't like women and they don't like gays, but they happen to be black, that's a chop. Even if they don't like blacks and they don't like gays and they happen to be a woman, that's a chop. So it's like, you're not a likable group. And so this is where I feel like Nicki Minaj comes in, because fascists are not just concerned with taking over every sector of the government and traditional politics. They're also concerned with taking over every sector of culture as well, right? And so Nicki Minaj, what they might be looking to her to do, and some people like her, she may be useful as a face to add a veneer of cool or acceptability over deeply unpopular politics, or even just to misappropriate the political messaging, because Nicki Minaj is deeply politically uninformed. Deeply politically uninformed. Like, when she is making these statements, and again, I am going to get to the specifics of the Christian piece and the religiosity, because I do think that is important. But although Nicki Minaj is a pariah by many accounts, she's still an incredibly powerful woman with a death grip on pop culture, and who has a really, really loyal fan base who will listen to whatever she says. And that is a dangerous cocktail. That's a dangerous cocktail. You mean a shock jock, a provocateur who is so wealthy they don't have to care about political changes that are going to deeply impact poor, brown, black, and minority folks. Because in the words of Mr. Simpson, I'm not black, I'm OJ. Oh, he's not the only one who thinks that way. I was just watching, and I've been watching over and over again, the conversation between Nicki Giovanni, the most beautifully philosophically grounded, poetic presentation of a conversation across gender, race, and freedom dreaming. But I was watching that conversation, and Nicki Giovanni says something that I think is so powerful. She says, James Baldwin says that, like, there's no such thing as black and white, essentially alluding to the fact that we've made up these things and ascribed meaning to them, but there is no real black man or white man, right? And that there are white men, that there are white people, that black people don't. No, what did he say? Fuck what he said, because I didn't live for what he said. Let's stick to Nicki Giovanni. What Nicki Giovanni said is that there are white people with black faces. That was the point that I wanted to make. That there are white people, because he said that there were black people with white faces, right? With white agendas. Or that there were white people with black faces and black agendas. And she said even more so, there are black people with white faces that you can't know a white person just by how they present. Right? That you might be white in politics, which means that there is a superiority complex endemic in the way that you view the world. There is a desire to exist over and against other people. There is a desire to colonize, consume, take over, to relegate other people's lives to a living hell for the veneer of privilege, irrespective of your class, irrespective of how this will impact other components of your identity. You, as a mind, as a political thinker, you are white in politics. And I always say that I have no issue with white people. I have a deep-rooted issue with whiteness, right? But that's something that was extemporaneous and right off the top of my head. If I thought about that further, that would have come out a lot better, but you get what I'm saying. Okay, wait, you're saying normalize being black and proud of it. Like, they say. I don't get it. I don't know what, like, yeah, of course we should be black and proud, but how does this, how is this germane to what I was just talking about? Stop using big words. What was the big word? Extemporaneous? You put it in now you using big words. Your words are in all caps. Now who's the hypocrite? Stop using big words. Extemporaneous just means thinking off the top of your head, right? Without giving something real critical thought. I'm just talking. No notes, just this popped into my head, now I'm saying it. But no, you know what's funny? And this is such a detour, but when I'm consuming people's work, either in literature, in media, etc., and they use words and I'm like, bitch, what the fuck does that mean? I deeply enjoy that. And I'm like, girl, what does that mean? How can I incorporate that into my vernacular to further explain what I feel? This is why I'm really, really obsessed with talk. I've told you guys this an innumerable times, and I'll tell you many more times to come, how obsessed I am with conversation, persuasive talk, with every iteration of communication. I'm deeply obsessed with the colors and textures of language and vocabulary. So no, I'll never stop using big words, Crystal. Just Google schmoggle. and like treat me as a thesaurus. Thesaurus? No, I said it right the first time. Thesaurus. That's cute and all, but give the definition right after. Meow. Period. But anyway, I really feel like Nicki Minaj is intending to do exactly what she accused Jay-Z of doing. And I talked about this in my last video about Nicki Minaj being a hypocrite, because at best, here's what I think about Nicki Minaj, and then we can move on. I think at best Nicki Minaj's politic is empty. Right, because I know a lot of her fans will say, like, what about when she was on, the Black Barbie remix and she said, I'm an island girl and Donald Trump want me to go home, and I'm praying all my foreigners don't get deported. She's also the lady who said I'm a Republican voting for Mitt Romney. But there are these competing ideals that her fans, who are already delusional, want me to engage with. And so I already spoke to how I feel about Nicki Minaj's politic being something that has no regard or concern for anybody but herself as a hyper-capitalist and a person who's, I'm going to let it play and then I'll talk some more. The next thing that she reposted, or that she posted onto her page, her Instagram page as well, is from her X account, or Twitter girl. She says, so let me get this straight. Y'all so-called black savior, hashtag Jay-Z, has a Hispanic CEO who was pardoned by President Trump? Interesting. So does that mean Deseret? That lady's name is Desiree. Okay, we've gone to, that lady's name is Desiree. Okay? So does that mean that Deseret isn't a Democrat? Black people, I thought y'all hate Trump supporters. Wait, did Jay-Z ever campaign for Kamala? He's benefited so much from the party. When President Trump gave the speech about brothers, why didn't Jigga Man come out and strongly campaign for the Democratic Party at the time? Could it be that y'all have been hoodwinked? Woo-wee. That was so kind of President Trump. I had to say it with that face. And that was so kind of President Obama to passionately go out and campaign. But what did Mr. Jigga Man do to help y'all win the election? He's above speaking out for his own party? Or was it not his party? Is it just about who can benefit him and Deseret at the time? Oh, black people, it looks like Jigga Man and Deseret played y'all once again. LMFAO, the jig is up. That was cute. The jig up is the stick up. Run me that money. Wait a minute. Okay, so let's start here. Desiree was pardoned by Donald Trump. And I think that this is a good point that Nicki Minaj is raising, right? To a point. We as black folks and progressives should absolutely be interrogating celebs that we're interested in, our faves, billionaires, millionaires, who are supporting or claim to have our best social and political interests at heart and are doing things that are antithetical to that are opposite to that. For them, millionaires, billionaires, these, really rich celebrities, these election outcomes don't affect them in the same way they affect us. Let's be real. When you are poor or a person of color, you are experiencing the brunt of a racist, homophobic, queerphobic, capitalist regime, right? And I don't want to monetarily support someone who wasn't interested in considering those things, who isn't interested in considering me and how I'll be impacted by these systems. The message is right. It's the messenger. It's the messenger who is sending me out. Nicki Minaj, a black immigrant from very humble beginnings, has never, and hear me good when I say, never used her platform to advocate or endorse a candidate. Ever. She has not used her platform to move the culture forward, specifically in a political context. Elections have consequences, and Mama has been sitting on the sidelines by a pool sipping Mai Tais. How convenient it is for you to call someone out for doing the very thing that you have not done at all. You've not engaged at all. You too are using politics as a game and as a wedge issue to benefit you. You want to galvanize your base and your audience against someone for their political decisions, actions, or inactions, and you've been politically inactive. What? I've never heard of somebody say Nicki Minaj the advocate. And just speaking to the elections that I've been able to participate in my lifetime, where was Nicki Minaj in the 2016 election when Donald Trump first ran? When everybody was talking about Donald Trump's history of racism and how he said allegedly inappropriate things about women and all the things that he has allegedly done to women. Where were you? When the first ever woman who was a Democratic nominee ran for office, where were you? Where were you in 2020 when folks were saying that democracy was on the line? When millions of people have been negatively impacted by and misinformation and mishandling, when thousands of black people put their bodies on the front line for racial injustice, where were you? Oh, I tell you where you were. You were somewhere up, sitting by the pool, sipping Mai Tais, tweeting misinformation about Corona Light vaccines. One of the tweets that she recently tweeted this week was, Democrats attacked me over my cousin's balls. Remember? Let's see if they have any thoughts on Desirat's pardon. Let's see if they have any thoughts on Brother Billionaire never campaigning for Kamala, even after Obama pleaded with the brothers. Isn't this the brother? The one brother who could have probably gotten the job done for y'all? Well, if the top brother in charge can leave y'all hanging without repercussions, then may everyone else leave you hanging as well. Hanging like my cousin's friends. So first of all, let's start with the cousin's friends, right? Nicki Minaj tweeted misinformation during the 2020, the Corona Light situation. She was talking about how her cousin's friends or her cousin, one of the two, their, testes had swelled up. She made a correlation between that and the vaccination. But that's actually something called orchitis, which is inflammation in that area, where about 20% of the men who contracted Corona Light would experience orchitis. There is no credible scientific evidence to support the correlation between that swollen area and the vaccine, but there is evidence to support that swollen area and contracting Corona Light. But before doing any research, before reading, she took to her millions of followers to spread that information in the middle of folks having, lost their loved ones, fighting for racial justice and feeling like we haven't made any progress, going through one of the worst economic times in American history. Where were you at in 2024 election? You talking about him. Where was you at for Kamala? When your a black woman of immigrant descent, of Caribbean descent, much like yourself, was running for office, where were you? Doing the same thing you always do. Minding your business, getting to the money, and being apolitical. Do not use politics as a wedge issue or as a means to call someone out when you've never used your platform to call anyone in a political manner. Right idea, wrong chick. Wait, hold on. Why I'm so little? I love when my takes age well. Girl, I live. And yes, I let them whole 4 minutes play, 3.5, 4 minutes play, because I live for when my takes age well. Because here we are 3 months later, and the same lady who was calling out Jay-Z for being hypocritical in his support or his stances, his political stances, cozying up with an administration that has, as a black woman, as one of the most powerful black women in music, cozying up to an administration that has laid off or fired 300,000 black women federal workers because they were anti-black. And that's not even something of like, we're saying like, oh, I have to jump through hoops because they've tried to disguise it. No, they said that they were anti-inclusion. You have been included. We decided that because you are black and a woman, you gotta go. We need to fill those spots up with white males. You are a diversity hire. This space is full of diverse faces. We don't want that. And so as a result, 300,000 black women have lost their jobs. Let me put this lady back up on the screen. Look at me while I'm talking to you. Look at me while I'm talking to you. And so here we are, right? It's like, I'm not buying anymore when the girls were like, oh, when she said I'm a Republican voting for Mitt Romney, that was satire. Is this satirical as well? Now, let's actually review that tweet. Oh, this is when she was talking to Barack Obama. Let's actually review that tweet. I want to pull that tweet back up that Nicki Minaj had. Boom. So this is the tweet that was heard around the world, and the one that I said required a level of nuance and emotional sensitivity because it was referring to, or it made allegations of, religious persecution, which I think is a very serious topic. And I also think that it's ripe for informational fallacy. It's ripe for people to introduce straw man arguments and contort their argument or hide their real bigoted interests under the veneer of something as sensitive and complex as what is allegedly religious persecution of a group across the globe. And so it requires a lot of nuance. So here's what I'll say here. On November 1st, Donald Trump tweeted or truthed the following post. It says, Christianity is facing an existential threat in Nigeria. Thousands of Christians are being killed. Radical Islamists are responsible for the mass slaughter. I am hereby making Nigeria a country of particular concern. If you look at the countries of particular concern, almost all of them are Black and brown countries. But that is the least of it. When Christians or any such group is slaughtered like is happening in Nigeria, something must be done. I am asking Congressman Riley Moore, together with Chairman Tom Cole and the House Appropriations Committee, to immediately look into this matter and report back to me. The United States cannot stand by while such atrocities are happening in Nigeria and numerous other countries. We stand ready, willing, and able to save our great Christian population around the world. There were talks about invading Nigeria, allegedly. I want to be careful because we're talking about, policy and things that get, a little litigious. So allegedly, but this is what I believe to be the implication here. To which Nicki Minaj responds, reading this made me feel a deep sense of gratitude. We live in a country where we can freely worship God. No group should ever be persecuted for practicing their religion. We don't have to share the same beliefs in order for us to respect each other. Numerous countries around the world are being affected by this horror, and it's dangerous to pretend we don't notice. Thank you to the president and his team for taking this seriously. God bless every persecuted Christian. Let's remember to lift them up in prayer. Now, this post got a response by the UN ambassador, Mike Waltz, who thanked her for her using her platform in the way that she did and inviting her to the UN so that she can see how they are working to help Christians all around the globe. To which she said, yes, thank you. I would be honored. And let me first say this because I think it's important. It's not just a precursor to a critique. It is an honest feeling that I need to release in order for me to get more specific. I vehemently condemn the persecution of any religious group anywhere in the world. I condemn violence and subjugation of any people group for any reason, period. I myself do identify as a Christian, a progressive Christian. It's something that I'm working through because, Christianity has been used to subjugate, to enslave, to separate. It's also been used to desegregate, and so what I won't do in this moment, is get into a theological battle, a theological pussy battle. But what I will say is I'm working to understand what it means to be a progressive Christian. And for me, that just means that God looks out for my and every human being's best interest at heart and wants us to love our neighbors as ourselves. That's the crux of my theological position. But again, we can expound on that in another day, but I think it was important for me to say that I do have deep sensitivity around even the notion that there exists religious persecution anywhere, about the reality that there is religious persecution in a lot of places. With that being said, with all the information that I've been able to ascertain and engage with, I believe that Trump's categorization of what is happening in Nigeria is false. It is inaccurate. And I believe that he is inaccurately portraying what is happening in Nigeria to prioritize one group, in this case, Christians, over other groups, because all of the experts, journalists, political officials in Nigeria are saying something very different than what he's saying. And not all these journalists are not even actually Nigerian. They come from other parts of the world. There are extra involved parties, like I think I have it written here, and I want to make sure that I'm following what I said, because I am not, a political journalist or an international political expert, but I am a cultural journalist. And so I've done some preliminary reading from the journalists on the ground, the experts, and like I said, the political officials. And they actually are saying that they welcome the help of the United States. But this categorization of what's happening is inaccurate, that there are issues of violence and terrorism happening in Nigeria, but it is not religiously motivated or even disproportionately targeting one religious group. Right. And so I've already put in the description box some of the articles and data that I've read. If you have any extra data, please put it in the comment section. And I'll add more as time goes on if I find more information in the coming days. But I do think it's important to be very specific about what it is that I'm about to say as someone who is not an international politics expert. Essentially, Nigeria is experiencing a surge in deadly attacks, particularly from jihadist groups like Boko Haram and affiliated armed forces. And they are targeting, yes, Christians, but also there is substantial violence being targeted at Muslim communities and various ethnic groups, right? It was Amnesty International. That was the group that I was looking for, which is a human rights organization based in the UK, that described the violence happening in Nigeria not as religious persecution, but as egregious crimes, broad, right? And their whole objective, the whole ethos of Amnesty International is to understand human rights violations very specifically. So there's nothing that would stop them from saying, oh, this is specifically a religiously motivated attack at one specific demographic, right? They actually noted that both, and I keep looking at my notes because I don't want to get this wrong. They actually noted that both churches and mosques, as well as ethnic and farming communities, have faced indiscriminate targeting, right? And so there's a video of who I believe is a senior official for information. I don't remember the exact name, but there's, do I have it here? It's a senior political official in Nigeria who's basically saying that, it's impossible. I have the YouTube video for you to watch. It's only about a minute and a half, where he's talking about how it's essentially impossible for the government to sanction religious persecution because of the way that their governmental laws are set up, right? So it does beg the question, what's actually happening? To me, it reminds me of Trump's response to what was happening in South Africa, where disproportionately South African farmers were being killed, but South African farm owners were given expedited pathways to citizenship. So the South African farm owners are largely white people who have been, because we know the history of apartheid in South Africa. It's why Tyler calls herself colored and not black. Come on, Negroes. And so they have been given these largely white Afrikaners. They don't even call themselves Africans. These white Afrikaners have been given preferential treatment in terms of escaping a very difficult and dangerous situation without any regard for the fact that the people who are most impacted by that violence were the black farmers, the black working class, right? And so this administration has demonstrated its affinity for white folks, white people's pains, Christian people's pain. And so, and even with the Nigerian thing, I'm like, girl, what's really going on? Because do you even really care about these Christian black people's pain? Are there resources that need to be mined? Allegedly, I don't know. I literally don't know that, so don't take that as fact. But, I'm just speaking from a historical perspective. This is what is causing my genuine concern. My genuine, I'm having a difficult time. I got this still up here. I'm having a difficult time believing you when you say that you're here for good reason. I had to Google Afrikaners. I thought you were saying Afro Connor. Bitch, come on, Afro Connor. Well, yes. my guys, Afro Connor would actually make more sense than Afrikaner. But yeah, so let's bring this back to Nicki Minaj because it's been about an hour, which is we made great time. I still have time to get off of here and do the work for the video essay, which I wanted to spend at least 5 hours tonight working on that. So 8 o'clock is a good time. So this brings me back to Nicki Minaj. When she pushes back on her fans, and there's this tweet that her fan made, and I hope I sent it over. Oh my God, I don't have it. Okay, I'm gonna read it for you. One of her fans tweeted, Nicki, as a diehard fan who genuinely sticks beside you through every single scandal, you cozying up to this effing loser, I might just have to tap out. We live in a country that wants to weaponize religion against your gay fans. And it goes on to say more, but I wasn't able to get it. And her response to that was, imagine hearing Christians being... Girl, yeah. Okay, so you see how she said, imagine hearing something is happening, and we're going to take her on face value here for just a moment. You see how she says, imagine hearing something is impacting another group, and you make it about yourself. You see how she said that in the first sentence of this tweet? Here's what she says in the second sentence of this tweet. When my home was swatted multiple times with my innocent toddler inside, maybe 20 officers with guns drawn pointed at our home due to political corruption, you being gay couldn't save me. I'm sorry. I thought, wait, you said we back. Oh, you must be late. I thought the live went out. I thought that we were against people making structural things personal, making community arguments personal. So this person speaks on behalf of your queer fan base, which is being disproportionately targeted by this administration. Trans, queer, however you identify, disproportionately targeted. So then you go and say, it's not about your community. So it's not about you. It's about this community. Then you go and make it about yourself. Somebody, wait, the audio is going in and out? Oh, wait, how long has the audio been going in and out? I see y'all. Hold on. I need the people who are, I think, girl, they break it into our system. They're breaking into our system, girl. It froze for 1 second. Oh, I left and came back out. It was fine. You're teleporting like an anime character. Am I teleporting? Am I the drama? Okay, so YouTube is acting up. Okay. The people are saying they think it's a YouTube issue, not necessarily me. Okay. So then I can't, girl, mother, it's nothing I can do, sister. It's YouTube. But essentially, Nicki Minaj goes on to disregard what this person is feeling. And I don't live for that. We could chalk it up to her political ignorance. Perhaps she didn't know the complexity of the violence that was happening in Nigeria. That is actually really plausible. And maybe she didn't know that Trump is, who's the president of the United States. So we can't hold the president of the United States to the same extent or the same weight that we would hold Nicki Minaj. So perhaps she didn't know how the president may, again, girl, allegedly miscategorizing what's happening in Nigeria and the people who are experiencing the brunt of this issue, according to all of the journalists and political officials in Nigeria. And even perhaps she didn't know about the rise in white Christian nationalism. But you know what she did know? The power of using her voice. She has watched as Beyonce went political, Taylor went political, Katie went political, Lady Gaga has even, used her voice explicitly, overtly, to speak to, over and against, or not over and against, to speak out against queerphobia, transphobia, etc. So she is watched as people who have been, relevant as long as she's been relevant, who are her peers, come out and get political. And she's remained silent. So for you to be So she knows the power of lending your voice as a person with hundreds of millions of fans across the globe to a political cause. She understands that, because I won't say she's a political student, right? She's a rapper. She sings songs. I immediately thought about Barbara Walters and Mariah Carey, where Barbara Walters is asking Mariah Carey about Nicki Minaj, and she's like, "Are you the bitch that she's talking about in this rap song?" And Mariah Carey's like, "I don't know. Didn't know that she rapped. I didn't know that she sung. I thought she rapped or whatever." Like, so good. But essentially, that's your area of expertise. So it's like, why choose to lend your voice to this now? Because you are self-interested. You are deeply, deeply self-interested. And so I feel a very similar way about Mariah Carey and this scandal that she's experiencing. I feel, you know what I feel about Charlamagne the God? Charlamagne the God was critiquing Democrats for shutting down the government. And I want to say that again. Charlamagne the God was critiquing Democrats for shutting down the government. In his critique, he said, "Democrats, you fought. It seems like you lost the fight. At this point, go on and give it up. At least give the people some relief by getting the government back open. Let these people get these SNAP benefits. Let these government workers get their checks. We don't need all of this craziness at the TSA during the holidays. Like, I think you lost. I feel like they lost. It's over." You know what's particularly nefarious about that situation is that if you don't know why the government shut down, you might just believe that he is a good faith actor. You might just believe that Charlamagne is speaking in the interest of you and me, the regular working class people. Niggas who need their food stamps, niggas who need, federal workers who need their state benefits. We trying to travel back and forth for holidays to see grandma. This is not going to work. Charlamagne is the voice of the people, but motherfucker, he's not. Charlamagne the God, and he knows full well that the government is shut down because of the Republicans, point blank period. It is because the Republicans are attempting to rob working class and poor people, steal what little money we have from federal resources like food stamps, Medicaid, affordable health care, and take that money and give it to rich people like himself for tax cuts and benefits. This is not a man who is interested in the working class people just being able to get their food stamps and be able to travel to see grandma without issues at TSA because the government is shut down. Fuck no. This is a man who said, "Oh, y'all are putting nearly $1 trillion that you're stealing from Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act, food stamps, SNAP, WIC. You're stealing that money." And this is not for a couple weeks or a month, which I do think it is terrible that, the government is shut down and that people don't have their food stamps and that people don't have, that is deplorable. It's disgusting. But it's not shut down because Democrats don't want people to have access to those things. It is shut down because Democrats are saying, we refuse to move until you make it where at least people can get health care, where we can extend their health care subsidies, where you can be a little bit less of a greedy thief. And so I don't trust you ultra wealthy, rich black motherfuckers who come in with an all white, waving the white flag, because the only people who will suffer for the next 10 years because of the big, beautiful bill that the Democrats are fighting from getting passed is us, not you. You only win. And I want to be very, very specific. This Democratic bill includes an $863 billion cut to Medicaid, a 295, nearly a 300, excuse me, did I say billion? Did I say billion? Excuse me, did I say billion? And I don't think y'all understand how big a billion is. I was just talking to someone about this. If you saved, and I want you to understand this, if you saved $1,000 every day from the time Jesus Christ was born until now, you would still not have $1 billion. These motherfuckers want to take nearly $1 trillion, over $900 billion from Medicaid, affordable health care, and food stamps. And they're putting that money in under a different committee that is going to give tax cuts to the top 1% of this country. So when Charlemagne the God comes in and says, what about grandma? What about the food stamp check you just missed this past month? Bitch, sit your black ass the fuck back, because we don't want to hear nothing you gotta say. You don't care about the fact that grandma's not gonna have anything to cook on Thanksgiving and Christmas if this gets passed. If grandma's diabetes, if grandma's not, and this gets me emotional, because if grandma's not able to get her diabetes medication, grandma won't make it to next Christmas. But you don't give a fuck. And so I'm at a point right now where when I'm seeing our faves become more conservative, I'm saying, fuck all you niggas. Fuck all you niggas. We're not even having the old school Republican debate of, oh, well, small government versus big government, which it's always been trash. Republican policies, always. And many Democratic policies as well. We need something more progressive than the Democratic Party that could actually win an election. However, Republican policies have always been in the toilet for me, but this is fascism. This is highway robbery. Masked under the man of the people masks. So to that I say, fuck you. Fuck this imaginary grandma that you've cooked up. These people deserve food stamps all year round. Bitch, we built this motherfucker. Don't get me on my high horse. We are in the richest country in the world. And it is stratified in such a way where every statistic you look at will bear that if you were born poor, you are most likely to die poor. Being poor, being born into a poor household, is one of the greatest indicators of whether or not you will die poor. Where's the meritocracy in that? Girl, fuck Charlemagne the God. Girl, Mariah Carey, you are on our hit list. Nicki Minaj, you're a flop. I'm going to let you girls go now. Shout out to y'all for staying to the end of this video. I feel like I was a little disheveled this whole conversation, but join the Patreon for just to keep me able to do this. Like I say this over and over again, but I'm going to be honest with you. I don't ever want to stop being able to make content that is honest, that brings together the real information. But in order for me to do that, I say this to you, and it's not a joke. The algorithm, when I talk the way I talk, cuts those checks. And not in half, not in a third, significantly. And so what keeps me afloat is the support of my patrons. Thank you so much to everybody who supports me now. The link to join the Patreon is in the description box down below. Of course, obviously, there's always typically after these, we do live shows. So there's always the exclusive live conversations where we can talk and kiki and chat. But yeah, support independent journalists who are not bought out, right? Because Charlemagne the God has one of the biggest mics in the world and it's bought out. And he is literally having there are people echoing the talking points that he's made, and they're signing their own death warrants. And I'm saying that proverbially because I don't want to scare people and I don't want to, be too, spooky ooky. I'm not trying to fear monger. I just want to be honest about what's happening. So yeah, don't listen to the Breakfast Club, unless it's somebody on there who is there to check them in a real way. And yeah, I don't have much more to say. I live for you guys. Thank you so much. And even if you don't have the, money to support financially through Patreon, it's from $2 to $20 a month. Then like, comment, subscribe, all of the things, share with a friend. And I'll see you guys really, really soon, either here or on my main channel where we do the video essay, The Miseducation of Feminism. Coming to you soon. Anyway, I hope, girl. I gotta go, honey. Time to tell.